Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Form's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. It's a huge afternoon of racing at Santa Anita with 4 graded stakes races. Our in-studio handicappers, Mike Beer, Matt Bernier, and myself, we're going to take a look at the 2 big ones, the 2 grade ones. The Gold Cup at Santa Anita, your formulator race of the day, featuring big cap runner-up Midnight Storm and the Grade 1 Gamely Stakes on the turf. That race features the very popular East Coast shipper, Lady Eli. Nicole Russo will be on to talk about Belmont race number 7 from a pedigree perspective. Craig Milkowski's Time Form U.S. Spotlight looks at a stakes race and a good betting opportunity at Prairie Meadows. Peter Thomas Fornatel, Daily Racing Form's tournament editor, will be on for this week's segment, Tournament Talk, discussing the world of handicapping tournaments. And our in-studio handicappers will also have our best bet segment for the Saturday racing cards. Let's break Out of the Gate. We begin Out of the Gate with our in-studio handicappers, Matt Bernier, Mike Beer, and we begin Out of the Gate with our Hot Topic segment. Now, when cloud computing won the Preakness, one thought came into my mind. I thought, great selection, Matt Bernier. But also, who's the leading 3-year-old in the country? Because each week on NTRA.com, the NTRA has its top 10 3-year-old and top 10 thoroughbred poll, and I'm one of the media members that has to vote. And I was thinking, who do you vote for as the leading 3-year-old? You have so many different options this year. There has just been chaos at the top of the 3-year-old division. First of all, we're interested in who you would vote for as your top 3-year-old as it stands right now. You can tweet at us at DRF Video, our DRF TV handle. And of course, I want to know what these guys think. The horse that did eventually become number 1 on this week's NTRA poll, Classic Empire. 21 first place votes. Let's watch Classic Empire's victory in the Arkansas Derby. This was a nice bounce back performance off a disappointing effort off a start and stop spring. And Matt, Classic Empire ran well in this race. He ran well as a 2-year-old. He ran well in the Derby. He ran well in the Preakness. He's just been losing a lot lately.
I guess the thing is, he's been consistent, if nothing else, and that's something that has been lacking in the 3-year-old division thus far. So anyone that wants to put him at the top of the list, I don't have a huge argument against, other than what you just alluded to, Dan. He hasn't won very frequently, and for me, I want horses that have credentials, that have actual wins to their name.
Now, are the folks voting based on Classic Empire's consistency, Mike? Or are they kind of remembering that 2-year-old season? He was the best one. It's so tricky. Always Dreaming had the flop in the Preakness. Cloud Computing was eligible for non-winners of one other than when he won the Preakness. Let's go with the known commodity.
It's probably a little bit of, I would say it's probably a little bit of that. And also a little bit of what have you done for me lately. And he did, run a pretty good race there in the Preakness as the Derby winner. Totally bombed. I'm kind of with you guys, though. I mean, I don't see how you vote for horses like this if they're not winning races. The idea is to win races, and this horse, he's not winning this year.
Now, there's no set criteria for these votes, just like the year-end eclipse, and I can certainly understand the argument. He's the most consistent one right now, and of course, he's going to be the favorite in the upcoming Belmont Stakes. The most accomplished horse, however, this year, arguably, Matt, Always Dreaming. 2 Grade 1 wins, Florida Derby, and the race that counts the most, the Kentucky Derby.
That's kind of the way I look at it. If I absolutely had to make a vote right now, it would be Always Dreaming, and not just because of the Kentucky Derby, which we're taking a look at right now, but also he has another Grade 1 to his name. He was so impressive in the Florida Derby. You see him splashing down the lane here at Churchill Downs. And I feel like many people, I don't want to lump everyone into it, but I feel like many people are too, let's say, unforgiving or unkind to one bad effort. I get the Preakness was a disaster, but this horse, you've seen him at the sort of, let's say, the biggest and brightest stages perform. You know that the horse can run. You know that there's talent. Are you going to just immediately write him off because of one poor effort? I think we've been spoiled over the past handful of years with American Pharoah and Arrowgate, where all they do is go out and win. That's not the case more often than not with these horses.
He basically came out of nowhere, Mike, to win the Florida Derby for Todd. And of course, his Kentucky Derby, as we saw, was an excellent performance. Boy, his Preakness was El Stinkaroo, however, and I understand he's the most accomplished one. But voting for him off the last race, especially when you consider, as you said before, the recency sticks in your mind. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, Classic Empire, I thought, was a hard sell. This horse is a pretty hard sell off his Preakness, too. But on the other hand, he has won 4 races this year. Classic Empire's won once. He's won the 2 Grade 1s, and he's won the Derby. I think all that stuff counts for something. I mean, If you told me right now that you're going to put a gun to my head and I had to pick one horse to vote for right now for the Eclipse, I guess I'd hold my nose and vote for him, but I wouldn't be happy about it.
Let's take a look at Cloud Computing's Preakness performance. He is the now horse in the division. He comes from off the rail here, a beautiful trip and ride under Javier. He gets it done over a very game Classic Empire. That's where I went in the NTRA poll, and I guess perhaps I'm spoiled by that whole, it's the last race, it's fresh in my mind, but for the reasons that we talked about before. Classic Empire just hasn't sealed the deal in his last couple of races. Always Dreaming's race in the Preakness was just no good. This is the now horse right now, and as for now, he's my leading 3-year-old.
I just kind of look at it and say, I understand. Look, I thought he ran very well, and I think he has all the room for upside still. But, I mean, isn't this... he's won one real race to date other than a maiden race, and then you've got a horse like Always Dreaming who, okay, he was terrible in that race we just looked at, but he won the biggest race for 3-year-olds that people year in and year out make a big deal about. And by the way, he also won the Grade 1 Florida Derby. I think we all are sort of blinded by what we've seen most recently, and the fact that Always Dream was terrible and Cloud Computing was good. I think that's probably why a lot of people think that way as well.
Interested in your thoughts on a couple of under-the-radar horses. Mike, we'll begin with you. The 3-year-old filly Unique Bella is on the shelf. She was unable to compete in the Kentucky Oaks due to injury. We're going to take a look at her most recent start. She received one first-place vote in the poll. She's been brilliant this year.
I'm a big fan of hers. I think she's a really good horse. It's unfortunate the timing of the injury was not great for her. Missing the premier race for 3-year-old fillies in the first part of the season anyway. I mean, listen, I like her a lot. I think she's really good. I don't think she really deserves to be getting votes in this category.
I agree with that completely. At this point in the game, all she's done, I shouldn't say all she's done, but she doesn't have a Grade 1 victory to her name, and we haven't seen her in months at this point. I understand Abel Tasman chased in vain there, but I don't know. You got to do a little bit more than that for me to consider you the best 3-year-old in the country of either sex.
Most consistent one, Classic Empire. Most accomplished one, Always Dreaming. The now one, Cloud Computing. Can you make the argument that the most naturally talented one is Mastery, who unfortunately is missing the Triple Crown Series due to injury? Matt, let's watch Mastery's most recent start, a brilliant effort in the San Felipe.
It's been the best effort to date, in my opinion. Now, having said that, you see who he beat in this race, and it doesn't come back all that sparkling. I have to be honest with you. The fact that we're at this point right now talking about these 3-year-olds, and again, he's been brilliant in this spot, and you see, unfortunately, he was eased right after the wire. If he were still around, I think everybody would be salivating, because maybe we are sitting on a horse that would be going for a Triple Crown at Belmont Park. But that right now, luckily, we don't have to vote on it just yet. We still have 6-7 months before we really truly have to consider who the best 3-year-old was.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of, maybe not all of us, but I think some of us anyway are hoping somebody emerges second half of the year, which is what happened last year. We got a couple of really good ones the second half. Maybe that'll happen again this year. As far as Mastery goes, I don't think you get too many arguments from too many people that he's probably the best one that we've seen on the racetrack this year. That would certainly be the position I would take, but I don't know how you vote for him, for something like a year-round Eclipse Award.
We would love to hear your thoughts. Tweet our handle at DRFTV, at DRF Video. We've got lots of handicapping this week to discuss on Out of the Gate. 2 Grade 1 races at Santa Anita. Let's get to it. Saturday's DRF.com Formulator Race of the Day is the Grade 1 Gold Cup at Santa Anita. We're going 1.25 miles. Let's take a peek at this field. 2 quick things. Head on over to the Race of the Day event page on DRF.com. Download free Formulator past performances and handicap along with us. And head on over to video.drf.com for all of the graded stakes action, expanded stakes previews for both Saturday and Sunday. Gentlemen, it's a fascinating race. Midnight Storm is the morning line favorite. Midnight Storm is the big name. Matt, we're going to take a look at his most recent race at Santa Anita at 1.25 miles in the big cap. He turns for home in the lead. It took a good horse to run him down.
Shaman Ghost came and got him. I don't know that this is a matter of this horse, feeling the effects of the distance or whatever it may have been. That's kind of the way that I'm leaning, but you have to note he was 5 clear of everybody else in the field, so it's hard for me to just say, the distance got him. Shaman Ghost is probably just a better horse as well. We saw him come back to win the Pimlico Special. Midnight Storm is the horse to beat. I don't want him at a short price.
Mike, based on his overall body of work, based on that big performance in the Santa Anita handicap, the Oaklawn handicap, was supposed to be a procession. It was supposed to be a slam dunk, and he didn't run well at all.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the race that bothers me more than anything else. I know maybe he's just a better turf horse anyway, but he's got some good dirt races and dirt races that make him tough in here. And I liked his big cap just fine. I don't know what to say about his last race. He was bad at Oaklawn, and it makes me not want to bet him in this race.
He is also a speed horse in a race which could feature a good amount of speed, most notably Cupid. Matt, he's coming off a long layoff. What are we to expect for the Baffert trainee?
Well, you got to assume he's going to be fresh, and if anybody's going to bring a horse back at 1.25 miles, it's going to be Baffert. But keep in mind, Cupid was supposed to return in the Californian, and even in that spot, Baffert said not thrilled bringing him back in a stakes race. He had some sort of an issue where he got injured during bath time. I don't know what the details are there, but guess what? He missed the Californian. He comes into this race, 1.25 miles off of a long layoff. I don't want him.
Talented horse that might be reaching full maturity, but going 1.25 miles off a long layoff. Mike, I guess if anyone could do it, it's Baffert.
I guess that's true, but I'm not Cupid's biggest fan anyway. I would never bet him in this race off of this kind of a life, especially for a horse like him who I think wants to be more forward. There's plenty of pace in here. He's not for me.
Let's go with our top selections for the Gold Cup at Santa Anita. Matt, you want the other Baffert. He's a pretty good one, American Freedom, and he's run well off duds before.
And he really threw in a dud most recently at Churchill Downs. I'm kind of looking at it saying, you know what, this horse, he's run 2 poor races in his life. Both of them happen to be at Churchill Downs. Draw a line through those. All you're left with the horse 5 for 5 in the exacta. I think he's really talented. When he ran into Arrowgate up in the Travers most recently, or 2 starts back, I should say, he beat a couple of good horses home. Keep in mind, Connect and Gunrunner finished behind American Freedom in this spot. I think if he runs this race, I think he's going to be really tough to deal with Saturday afternoon. The Gold Cup, again, draw a line through that horse that's out there winning by 100. We know what Arrowgate turned into. American Freedom is no slouch. Again, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and just say, he didn't like Churchill Downs, get him back home. This is a very, let's say, aggressive spot for Baffert to run him on after such a bad effort.
Mike, you're going with a horse coming off a pretty good effort. It was a losing effort, but to a sharp horse in Dancing Candy. Accelerate's got a lot of upside. Are you concerned about this distance?
Yeah, I'm very worried about the distance. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not even sure that I think he's necessarily good enough to win this race. I think he's going to probably have to run the best race of his life, but I don't want the 2 Baffert horses necessarily at short prices, and I don't want the favorite, Midnight Storm. This horse has won a couple of stakes already around 2 turns. He's been close to some good horses in some good races, and I think if he gets some hitting up front in this race, and he should get some hitting up front, maybe he just trips out in this race, gets to 10 furlongs and pulls a little upset.
I am flummoxed by this race. I'm using Mike's pick. I'm using Matt's pick. But I'm looking for a real stab at a gigantic price. I think there's going to be a fast and contested pace. American Freedom might be keyed up with the blinkers. Cupid might be fresh off the bench. We know Midnight Storm is a fast horse. Give me a stone-cold closer at a gigantic price. Give me Texas Rayano. He looks like a turf horse. We're going to take a look at his performance in the Hollywood Turf Cup. I believe this was a 1.5 mile race, and he was very stout in getting it done. Now, he's only raced once previously on dirt. That was last time out at Santa Anita, and they ran him off his feet earlier at a shorter distance, but I think he was plugging on okay towards the end. He's got a little bit of class, but most importantly, he's going to get a big pace setup. He's going to be a giant price. He's the kind of horse you use a C in Ticketmaker and any kind of multiple race wagers, but I'll take a little bit of a stab on Texas Rayano, my top pick at a giant price in the Gold Cup. Nicole Russo's got some pedigree opinions on a really interesting race at Belmont Park. Tons of bloodlines to discuss in race number 7. Let's go to Nicole Russo's pedigree pick.
Hey guys, Nicole Russo coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky on Out of the Gate this week. And we're going to take a look at Belmont's 7th race on Saturday. This maiden special weight for fillies and mares sprinting on the turf. And as you take a look at the field, I really think this race is a little bit of a tale of 2 sires. Neither Warfront, one of the most prominent stallions in America today, or his Grade 1 winning son, The Factor, ever ran on turf. But coming from the Danzig line, Warfront has really turned into a prominent turf sire who's popular commercially around the globe with greater Group 1 winners like Data Link, Air Force Blue, Jack Milton, Declaration of War. And I suspect that The Factor could follow in his sire's footsteps. And as he was brilliantly fast, his offspring could be particularly effective sprinting on the turf. Let's take a look at Game Factor, his representative in this race at Belmont, shortening up in distance a little and could be a pace factor here. She's out of a Speightstown mare, so that's another speed influence on her page. I'm really interested to see how she continues to develop and how she'll do in this spot. Warfront himself has got 2 representatives in this race, Vigor, who's from the family of Champion Blame, and Battle Joined, who we'll talk a bit about now. This filly is out of a graded stakes winning mizzen mast mare, so that's another dose of turf breeding in there. Ran a good second in her most recent outing, which was taken off the turf, and I do like the way she fits against this field. And 2 others that we need to mention quickly. Rubelinda, making her career debut, is from the first crop of unbeaten European champion Frankel, who's just gotten off to a flying start at stud with his runners around the globe. They seem to be better going slightly longer than this. Frankel, in fact, got his first classic winner last weekend in Japan. But this filly's out of a mare by the brilliant Invincible Spirit, who was a winning sprinter herself. So Rubelinda, I don't think you can necessarily toss her going short. And lastly, have to mention More Than Treasure by More Than Ready, who we've also talked about as a prominent turf sire, should improve in her first try on turf in her second career start. Good luck at the windows wherever you're playing, and we'll be back with more Out of the Gate after these messages.
You asked, we listened. DRF Plus has more flexible subscription options. Use DRF Plus Basic for exclusive news and analysis, including our DRF Live real-time news feed. Or go deeper with DRF Pro and unlock buyers, closer looks, picks, and reports, including the DRF Daily Game Plan. DRF TV viewers get 50% off the plan of your choice. Use code DRFTV50 at checkout. Learn more about the DRF Plus subscription plans at drf.com/plus.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate. Let's move to the Gamely Stakes at Santa Anita. Grade 1 stakes race at 1 1/8 for fillies and mares on the turf. Let's take a peek at the field for expanded stakes previews of the Gamely, of the Gold Cup at Santa Anita, all the graded stakes races this weekend. Head on over to video.drf.com for in-depth analysis. Gentlemen, before we discuss the 2 protagonists in this race, I want to get your opinion on the 2 September stars. Mike, this was a little bit slow on paper, but very, very visually impressive. She could be a star in the making.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what she does in this race. I'm glad they're trying her here. I think she deserves a shot at a race like this. Her first 2 starts in this country, obviously the first 2 times she had Lasix, boy, it's hard to win races easier than she won both of those. She got good trips both times, but boy, she really ran in the stretch.
Is this too much too soon, Matt? Is this too tough? Because she deserves a shot based on the way she's been winning her races.
I have to be honest, in a normal Southern California race for the older fillies and mares, I would think this would be a perfect spot. Unfortunately for her, this is a really salty group. I got to be honest, I'm with Mike and I'm with you, Dan. She's been nothing short of, I don't want to say brilliant, but she's been really, really strong in each of her stateside races. She's also not the easiest horse to handle early on, and I think that's something to keep an eye on, particularly Saturday afternoon. She's going to need to be on her best behavior if she's going to uproot the top 2.
Quick discussion about Good Year for Roses. Richard Baltus has done a sensational job with this horse. They tested her last time out at Keeneland. She was far from embarrassed.
She wasn't embarrassed. On the other hand, she got a pretty decent trip in that race, and she just wasn't good enough for that kind of competition, and she's facing a couple pretty good fillies here.
Let's go to our picks in here. There are 2 big names, but the favorite, and I would assume the fairly overwhelming favorite at post time, Mike, is going to be the extremely popular East Coast Invader, Lady Eli.
Yeah, I mean, I think she should be the favorite in this race. We'll see what happens with her. I think it's interesting that Chad decided to ship her out west for this race. It is a grade 1 race, and I think he just probably wants to go a little bit longer with her. All those things worked in her favor. Listen, she's just a really good horse, and I know that she's lost 3 of her last 4 races since that big layoff. But to me, I think she's shown that she's come back every bit as good as she was before the layoff.
Lady Eli is certainly way the horse to beat, but she's not the horse to catch. The horse to catch in here, Matt, is your top selection, Avenge, coming off a 3rd place finish in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. A big effort.
I think you could make an argument anyway that she was best in that race, considering she was out there on the pace and she hung on gamely at the end, only to lose by about a length. In this race, she looks like she's controlling speed in here for Richard Mandela. I think Flavien Prat, you send her right to the front and you say, come and catch me.
I'm going to go with Lady Eli in here. I do respect Avenge, but she's catching Lady Eli without a race. Avenge hasn't run since the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. Lady Eli has the recency. I think Lady Eli will run down Avenge. Looks like a chalky edition of the Gamely. Lots still to come here on Out of the Gate. Peter Thomas Fornatel, DRF tournament editor, is going to discuss the tournament scene. Then we go to our Timeform US Spotlight. Craig Milkowski found a money-making opportunity at Prairie Meadows. Let's hit those segments.
Hey everybody, I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal, the DRF tournament editor, also the co-host of the DRF Players podcast, and I'm here today to talk to you about everything going on in the world of DRF tournaments. If you haven't been to the DRF tournament site yet, I encourage you to check it out. You can find it at tournaments.drf.com. The main thing we have going on is the newly announced World Championship of Handicapping. This is a new handicapping tournament with the player in mind, unlike anything you've seen before. The simple pitch is $1 million, no takeout. That's right, our finals, we don't take anything out of the pie. It all goes back to the players, and it's going to be spectacular. It takes place online January 27th and 28th. We've been already feeding players into it via qualification. You also have the option of just buying in directly for $5,000 and avoiding takeout completely. The event is limited to 200 people, 200 times 5,000, that's 1 million, and it all goes back to the players. Lots of different ways to qualify. I'm not going to get into the weeds here on everything, every aspect of that qualification process, but know this, you can get in for as little as free. Look for our free contests on Fridays to start your $1 million journey to the WCH. We have contests every day that we're operating where you put up $95 and 1 in 7 players wins their way to round 2, aka grade 1 contests, which take place on racing's biggest days. The next one is on Belmont Day. If you'd like, you can buy into that directly for $580 and win into the $5,000 finals, $5,000 seat to the finals, I should say. These ratios, they're not by accident, the 1 in 7, the 1 in 10. What they do is take some of the luck, some of the randomness that makes people crazy in certain tournament formats out of the equation, gives you an opportunity to just be better than 1 in 7, then better than 1 in 10, and have your shot to win your share of $1 million. Go to tournaments.drf.com to take a look at a full list of all the different qualifying opportunities. The free level, feeders for $11, round 1 for $95, and if you want the best ratio of all, buy in to the grade 1s for $580. Lots of other stuff to talk about today and what's going on DRF tournaments this very special Memorial Day weekend. One thing to highlight right off the bat is that unlike most weeks, we're going to be running tournaments on Monday. Check those out. You can see them listed up on the site once they're published. Other headline events this weekend include the last chance qualifier for Monmouth's Pick Your Prize. The Pick Your Prize contest is happening at Monmouth on June 3rd. Last year they had 140 entries, expecting to do similar or even a little better this year. It's a big deal in the tournament world with players, championship level players, coming in from all over the country to participate. You can win your $2,000 buy-in plus $500 in travel on DRF tournaments on Sunday. You put up $126 and 1 in 23 players will win these $2,500 packages to send you to Monmouth. I'm going to be taking the boat down from Manhattan. I'll be there hanging out with all my tournament player friends. Hopefully you'll join us. Another important note about the Monmouth tournament, its registration is closing on Saturday. So this is a literal last chance on Sunday. If you definitely want to have a seat, make sure you get it by Saturday and then play for another seat on Sunday. Monmouth kind enough to put a couple seats aside for us. One last note about Sunday's contest activity. We also have a qualifier for Del Mar, where the turf meets the surf. It's also where the rubber meets the road for serious contest players. You can play for your $7,500 prize package on Sunday. You put up $400, 1 in 22 advance. Lots of good stuff happening on DRF tournaments. You can read all about it in my columns on drf.com. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. Next up on Out of the Gate, we're going to send it to Timeform US's head figure maker, Craig Milkowski.
Hey, thanks for that, Pete. Hi, I'm Craig Mulkowski of Timeform US for Out of the Gate this week. I'm going to look at the $65,000 Ed Skinner Stakes from Prairie Meadows. The races for sprinters, and the field has won a combined 65 races, which includes 12 stakes races, and I believe there's even a graded winner in the field. So for the purse we drew, it's being offered. It's a very good field. The Timeform US Power Picks are a good place to start when handicapping a race. The top pick, Stormy Advisory, is also the morning line favorite. Second choice, Welder, is exiting a big race at Will Rogers Downs, where he put up a 1:19 Timeform US speed figures and is 8-1 on the morning line. And the third choice is Apprehender, a horse that's amassed nearly $600,000 in earnings and is dropping in class after a few tries in graded stakes company. The Timeform US pace projector thinks the pace is likely to be fast. 5 of the 9 entrants in the field prefer to be on or near the lead. Welder, who's shown in front, has never been more than 3/4 of a length off the lead at any point in his career, but it won't be easy for him. The first horse I want to look at today is Stormy Advisory. He's a horse that had won 2 in a row, including here in Oklahoma and at Remington Park, and then he won a stakes race at Oaklawn with a very nice 1:19 speed figure. But he seems to have tailed off in the last couple. You can see his figures have regressed from 123 all the way down to a 105 last out. And that was when he was beat as a 6-5 favorite in a similar race at Canterbury Park. So he's a favorite I'm willing to take a stand against. The next horse in the power picks was Welder. He's a horse that, like you said, he's likely to lead this field, and he does have the best last race Timeform US speed figure with a 1:19. There are a couple concerns, though, with him. One, as you can see, the race ratings, which are highlighted in the red box, they're quite low for this field, so he's moving up in class. The race rating today is a 116, and he's never run above a 107. I think one time way back in his PPs, he hit a 109, but he didn't run very well that day. The other thing to note is with the 107, you'll see a little T next to it. And that indicates that there was a problem with the timer at Will Rogers Downs that day. That's an ongoing issue with them. So while the 119 is probably, it could be representative, it's not a figure I have complete confidence in. It's one I did the best I could with. And, he could win, but that's not one I would want to base. I wouldn't want to solely base a bet on that horse on that number. And otherwise, he's only run a 111. That's the best he's done. The horse I am going to focus on today is Gordy, Florida. He's also a horse with Oklahoma connections. He's owned by Dream Walking Farms, which is Toby Keith. He's from the same town I live in here. But that's not the reason I'm selecting him today. He has just gotten better and better this year. He came back off a nearly a year-long layoff. He ran in the Southwest poorly after a good showing in the Smarty Jones, but he's come back this year. He's gotten better every time. As you can see, he went from 102 to 108 to a 112. And what I really like about him, that last race when he drew an inside post, he was forced to go from the gate. He showed more early speed than he ever has. You can see the fractions in red indicating the pace was fast. And despite that, dueling the whole way with a horse named Manhattan Mischief, he was able to pull away late from that horse and win. And Manhattan Mischief is a horse that's going on to win 2 more races at both Keeneland and Churchill and Starter Allowance Company rather easily. So he didn't put away any slacker. He put away a good quality horse and won. And as a lightly raced 4-year-old, he's a horse who could easily improve upon that 112. And at his 5-1 morning line, he'll be my win selection. The other horse I'm interested in a little is Apprehender. The horse I talked about was the 3rd Timeform US Power Pick. He by far has the best late pace rating in this field from Timeform US, and I'm going to use him in exactas with Gordy, Florida. So those will be my picks: Gordy, Florida to win, and exacta box with Apprehender. That's all for the Timeform US Spotlight feature. Now back to Dan for more Out of the Gate.
Time for our best bet segment here on Out of the Gate. Mike Beer going for 3 in a row. No mo dough last week at a gigantic price. Mike looking for lots mo dough at Belmont Park.
Yeah, Belmont Park, race number 5. Close out your early pick 5 with number 10, Delaquint, New York bred turf sprint. This horse was scheduled to did make his seasonal debut a couple weeks ago. The race came off the turf. I like that they left him into that race, though, guys. Let him show some speed. Let him get tired through the stretch. He is not a dirt horse. All of his good races on the grass. fast. This distance, I think, is a good one for him. And I thought there was a chance in this race. Pretty good field for the level. I thought he might get lost in the shuffle here. Might get him at a good price from post 10.
Matt, you're going to be on the road this week. You will be at Woodbine Saturday. Fittingly, your best bet north of the border.
Their featured event, race number 8. It's the Grade 2 Nassau. You've got a lot of speed in here, a one-turn mile. You've got Catch a Glimpse. You've got Karen. I'm going to go elsewhere. I'm going to go with Shelby Smile, a horse I think can sit a little bit off of the pace, take advantage of some sort of a duel up front. It's also sort of encouraging that Shelby Smile has already proven at the one-turn mile up north of the border. I think you've made mention numerous times, Dan, that long stretch at Woodbine, that can really be the undoing of some of these horses. Shelby Smile proven there, and I like the return effort down at Keeneland over yielding ground. We'll go with Shelby Smile and Nassau.
I'll go up to Woodbine as well for their co-feature. Race number 6 is the $125,000 Lady Angela Stakes, and I'm going to go with the number 4 Little Christie, who did some good things as a 2-year-old. She was a gate-to-wire winner in her first 2 starts. She popped a 72 Beyer speed figure as a 2-year-old in start number 2. Now, she already has 1 race this year. Doesn't look great on paper when they lose at 1-10, but let's watch Little Christie swing into the stretch. This is the first time that she's been taken off of the pace, and she's coming with a 4-wide bid at 5.5 furlongs, and I think these connections were using this race as a prep for the eventual stretch out to 7 furlongs in a race like the Lady Angela Stakes. Little Christie has speed, but I think she's going to benefit from this rating experience, and there are a couple of speedy horses down to her inside. Little Christie, the number 4, 5-2 on the morning line. That looks like a fair price in race number 6 at Woodbine, the Lady Angela Stakes. That's it for this week's Out of the Gate. Thanks so much for watching. Best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.